Here I am, climbing up, feeling great, getting love. Here I go, risk it all, be worth it now, and that's for sure. Watch me as a Rocketeer.
Alright, episode 29 of Fight Talk Down Under is brought to you by CMBT. Go to cmbt.com.au for all your protein powder, protein bars, pre-workout, all that good stuff. You know, we all love CMBT. They're huge supporters of Aussie MMA, so go to cmbt.com.au and give them some love. Now, you know I'm a facts guy, right? I deal in facts. And the fact is that 83% of penile injuries involve a razor. So it doesn't have to be this way. Bear Nuts hair removal cream is specifically formulated for sensitive areas such as your nuts. So go to nutcare.com.au, use the promo code FIGHTNEWS for 10% off at the checkout. That's nutcare.com.au, promo code FIGHTNEWS. Right, welcome everyone. As we said, episode 29. I'm, of course, Dan Meehan from Fight News Australia, and my co-host is the number one featherweight in Aussie MMA, of course. I speak of Lockjaw Justin Van Heerden. How are you, mate?
Yeah, good. Just excited to be here, you know. Episode 29, we've got a lot of fights to cover, some good content coming out, so I'm excited.
Absolutely, and of course we've got a special guest today, one of the most exciting prospects in Aussie MMA, and a man who's taken the socials by storm with his fight breakdowns. It's, of course, Jarrett Wilbraham. How are you, mate?
I'm great. Thanks for having me on here, boys. It's an honour.
No worries at all. Anytime, mate. Anytime. Pleasure's, the honour's ours, really. So, give us a bit of background on it. Like, how long have you guys known each other? And, give us a bit of background on, how you guys came to know each other.
Do you want to start with that, Justin? Or?
Yeah, so basically, I'd sort of, when I was based up in Queensland, I'd kind of even when I was still based up there, I'd already kind of obviously been involved in the scene, seen a lot about Jarrett and noticed that, over the time have, picked up on the fights that he's had and stuff like that. But obviously we'd never really connected or trained together or anything at that point. And then when I moved down here, obviously joined Freestyle. And then as we sort of fast forward to earlier this year when, Jarrett and Colby were scheduled to fight, I was kind of obviously that's when I kind of did more of a deep dive into sort of his MMA exploits and stuff like that. And I was like, okay, so let's kind of break down this fight and, kind of things that I can try and do to emulate him for Colby, because obviously that's preparing for the fight, And then obviously that didn't pan out. And then, funny how the universe works. And then next thing I know, I walk into the gym and he's down here at Freestyle and I get to share the mats with him on the daily. So yeah, it's been pretty wicked for me. I'm pretty stoked, So it's probably been it's only been a short time now. Kind of short time still. So that we've been training together, but yeah, I think we've kind of been bouncing some good sort of training and ideas and shit like that off each other already. So it's been wicked. I've really enjoyed it.
Yeah, it's been absolutely awesome, man. I consider you a good friend too, and I've only known you for a short time, so. I
don't.
Thank you. I was going to say, before I knew him, I hated his guts, but he's actually an alright dude. Yeah, we got a good blend. We got a good, we're so different with all our styles down there at Freestyle now. I feel we take all the concepts in and we use all the concepts, but we're just so different in the way that we put our games together. And I think that's what makes the team so unique.
Yeah, so Joe, we actually have a fan question on this one. It comes from one of our listeners, Ryan Els. So thank you, Ryan, for listening and for sending in the question. He asks, what prompted the move to Freestyle?
Yeah, well, the big reason behind the move was coming back because there was I had some issues going on at home with my mom. She needed a hip operation, so I wanted to come back and be there for her when she needed to get that done. But also just I had a lot of people to kind of leave Puma and a lot of the fighters left there. So once I asked the boys if I could come and train with them and made the move down here, it was just seemed like the right decision to go with and stay there. Being welcomed in, it's filling all the holes in my game. And yeah, it's one of the best decisions I've ever made.
There you go. And you're originally from the Wollongong area, is that right? Or?
Yeah, so I'm from Nowra originally. So it's only 45 minutes south. So I've still been living in the van. I was living in the van up in Queensland. but I still stay up at Wingdang through the week in the van, and then get to come home on the weekends. So it's worked out well.
How's the van life? How do you sort of get by living in a van?
It's good. Like, my partner and I, we have 24-hour passes at Anytime Fitness. So we just go and have all of our showers and stuff there. So, and then, you're just chilling through the day. It's just like, hanging out near the beach, and then you just go to sleep in the van. Like, it's just normal for us now. I wouldn't know what to do in a house, to be honest. I was house sitting for a few weeks there, and I just was so lost.
So much space.
Too much space, man.
So what he's saying is the van life is great, but company could be better. That's what he's saying. I think that's what he's saying.
There's not enough room for 3 people in the van, Justin. Company's fine, mate.
Yeah, see? I tried.
There we go. Now, are you in a house right now? What's the go there?
Yeah. So I came back for this podcast. So I come back to Mum's to do the podcast.
Oh, right. There we go.
Yeah.
So you've sort of blown up on social media recently with your fight breakdowns. It's something that I've enjoyed sort of watching myself. So where did that idea come from?
Well, I'm always studying fighting. It's like an absolute obsession of mine. And I just thought, well, what ended up happening was I have so much stuff banked up in my phone. I just found over time I was just deleting all this film study that I was doing. And I thought, well, why don't I just post it on Instagram? That's a good way of keeping it there. And I'll also try to, build up my following on Instagram. When I had a talk with my manager, Reese Dalson, he gave me the rundown of the fact that as fighters, that's only a small thing that we do in the sport that we're in. We only fight a couple of times a year, but we need to use our time quite wisely and try to build up a brand and a personal brand and a following behind ourselves. So I really said, all right, how am I going to do this? What direction am I going to head? And I thought if I funneled everything into studying fighting, then I'm not, I don't have stuff going on over here and over there. I'm focused solely on what I'm trying to succeed at. And that's where it started.
Awesome. We actually have another fan question from Mitch Landry. So thank you, Mitch, for listening and for sending through a question. He asks, does doing MMA breakdowns help with your own fight IQ?
Absolutely, yeah. I found over time, especially when I'm watching a fight now, I just watch the whole fight and then I know exactly what I'm going to do the breakdown on. So I feel like I'm just reading the fight in real time. I don't have to go back and rewatch the fight and say, this is what I'm going to do it on. I just kind of understand what's working and in that fight. And then that's just when I go back and start to do it. So yeah. And then applying those techniques, obviously being at freestyle, I'm really trying to take in what all the boys are working with. So that's solely where I'm focusing all my extra time outside the gym to drill. I'm focusing on what goes on there. But all the other stuff's just, added knowledge, I guess.
Yeah, there you go. And of course, Lockjaw's been an absolute menace in the comments on your videos, creating spot fires left, right, and centre. So, is that a hindrance or a help?
Oh yeah, any publicity is good publicity, I guess. We have a hater of the day segment, and he seems to make it most days. So, congrats, Justin.
And his followers, his people that follow his page, they're ruthless. Like I wasn't ready for some of the abuse that I copped from some of these people. I was like, well, fuck, all right, I better just chill out and leave the man alone. Let him do his breakdowns.
It's an army, man. It's an army. It's going to be bigger than the Nick Diaz army.
There you go. Well, Kels, I guess since you mentioned that, like, what's the ultimate goal? Are you sort of looking to start a YouTube channel or a website, or is it just sort of going to be something you do for fun? Like, do you have any idea where you want to go with it?
Yeah, I've got an idea of the direction I want to head in. At the moment, I'm just still building up the followers on my Instagram. But yeah, YouTube's hard because any of the content I put up on YouTube, it just gets taken down. So I've already lost my YouTube channel, which is quite sad. But I think I'm going to start doing the breakdowns like more of a personal thing, like explaining it, showing what happened in person, so to say, rather than using the UFC footage. See how that goes. But yeah, tons of plans. Like my manager got me to write a list of everything I want to do, and it was about this long. So I got a lot of ideas. I just need to work out which ones are worth chasing and which ones are worth leaving behind, because I can't do it all.
Yeah, that's true. So it was a bit of a copyright thing that got you expelled from YouTube in the end?
Yeah, I'll probably disappear off Instagram soon too. Who knows? It was fun while it lasted. But yeah, it's actually something I've been doing for about 8 months. Like when I first started posting, I think everyone was like, "Oh, this is weird. What a weirdo." And then when my following grew, they were like, "Oh no, this is actually pretty cool." So
yeah, it's pretty good, and I think like the like the beauty of it is like it's kind of bite-sized content, right? Like you can watch a lot of like breakdown videos and technique videos, and you have to bite off sort of 10, 15, 20 minutes sometimes. But yours, you can just kind of, you used to be scrolling away on Instagram, and it's only sort of, a couple of minutes that you can kind of just get everything sort of, you've sort of got everything sort of packed in there. It's still informative. So yeah, I think it's brilliant.
Yeah, I think my main goal was to, at the beginning, and it still is now, is to make other people more aware of the sport. So I'll notice I'll watch it with some of my friends, and they can't really get that involved because they don't understand what's going on. So since I've been doing these breakdowns, I get messages all the time from people just thanking me for helping them look at fighting from a different perspective. So it makes me feel pretty good that I'm helping people enjoy the sport a lot more. And that's the idea, is to bring more eyes to this sport, because it's the fastest growing sport. I personally think it's the most exciting sport in the world. And I'm just helping people get on the bandwagon.
Yeah, absolutely. It's awesome. Yeah, love it. And for yourself, like, when can we expect to see you back in the cage?
December. Yeah, that's the plan. So trying to get a matchup. I probably won't know until a week out or something like usual, but I'll just train for that date and start cutting the weight and just, hope that I can get a matchup. And then I'm going to go back to back next year, try to do what Justin's done.
Yeah, right. Just rattle off those wins and, push you up the rankings. So, yeah, I guess, so you don't have do you find out sort of late in the piece most of the time with your, when it comes to like opponents and things like that?
Well, I think that's why like Colby and I ended up matched up. We'd known each other for a long time. We've been friends for a long time, but he couldn't get any fights and I couldn't get any fights. And we were the only ones willing to give each other a fight. Like, as I said, we're in the coward division. Like, he had to go up and fight featherweight for his last fight because no bantamweights would fight him. And then, like, you look at the damage he took in that fight, that he didn't have to take that damage. That guy was way bigger than him and very talented fighter too, but Colby shouldn't be fighting in weight classes that he shouldn't be fighting in.
Yeah, that's true. Is it a bit weird sort of fighting like a friend or someone that you know? You obviously didn't get to do it in the end, but it's kind of an awkward position, right?
Yeah, well, I've punched on with my brother plenty of times, so it's, like, I know that we're going to be friends afterwards. I'm pretty good at like putting that stuff behind me, but to be honest, I'm happy we didn't fight. I'd rather not fight Colby, to be honest.
Yeah, there you go. So maybe a blessing in disguise in the end. So, and we will, of course, get to Colby's fight. The crux of this episode is going to be, of course, breaking down Eternal 69 and 70, the 10th anniversary sort of double-header that Eternal put on from the weekend. So we'll start with Eternal 69. Obviously, the first fight of the night. I'm assuming you guys both watched the whole card, but of course,
100%.
The first fight of the Eternal 69 main card was Val Sharapov versus Darcy Spoet, and obviously Val was pretty impressive in the end. What do you reckon, Lockjaw?
I thought that fight was going to be a bit more competitive than what it was. I thought it was going to be like a bit more of a back and forth sort of fight, and like we sort of predicted in the lead up, it was going to be like fast paced, and I expected the scrambles to be crazy and, for the action to be sort of consistent. But, Val just come in and, showed a different level of grappling compared to Darcy and was able to get the win. He looked good. So I'm excited. He's another exciting prospect for the division. It's just going to be, but, being in the bantamweight division is just going to be, it's just going to depend on, like with Jarrett and that, the same thing. It's going to depend on if these dudes want to fight or not. And, there's like maybe 4 or 5 guys that actually want to fight, and then the rest of them, I don't know what they're doing. So it's kind of like, it's a weird spot to be in, you know, because and especially if you start going on a bit of a run, win some fights, then you're going to struggle some more.
That's kind of the thing, isn't it? Like, he's just come in and he's just put Darcy away in pretty quick fashion and looked really good doing it. So, sometimes it can work work against you, really. Jarrett, is that something you've sort of experienced as well?
Yeah, for sure. Like, people aren't going to want to fight him now, and that's the thing. It's like guys like us that end up fighting him. Like, I'd like to fight people with bigger records, because that does better for me and my career. But then it's like, they end up offering me fights against guys that are like 1-0 or 2-1 or something like that. So it is what it is. I think he's gonna have a hard time getting fights.
And there's a theme there, and this is going to be like a running theme throughout this, when we're breaking down both these cards. If you're in a position where you have an opportunity to take a fight and you refuse to do that, that's just detrimenting you. At the end of the day, you're detrimenting yourself. It sucks for the other people because they're not getting fights, but you're stuffing yourself around. And that's what's just going to happen. Like, these guys declining fights with people, and you just, So what's the best possible outcome here is you wait and fight subpar people with lesser records, build yourself up that way, and then you get an opportunity to compete against some top level people, and you can't hang and you get exposed, or it just doesn't add up. There's only a certain point where you can do that to before you get to a point where everyone's good everywhere, and you have to be able to compete at that level, but you haven't built yourself up to reach that level, and you obviously, the people you have around you aren't directing you to do the work to improve to get to that point, because they're kind of just adding to that fire by giving you these easy fights, giving you these people with subpar records, and not giving you the opportunity to get tested. So it's really shit to see that happen, and it seems like it's becoming more of a thing, even more so now.
Yeah, absolutely, and obviously the second fight of Eternal 69 was Gina G coming out with a bit of an upset over Jamie Edenden. It was a split decision in the end. It was been a pretty contentious sort of call on social media ever since. But how did you score it, Jarrett? Yeah,
well, it's actually a fight I was really interested in. The first round was because it was a southpaw versus orthodox fight, and they weren't really fighting for the outside angle, the outside foot, and I really noticed that they were struggling to reach each other with the power hand. And I thought, I want to see what happens in the second round, because Gina's got the City Kickboxing corner and Joe in the corner, and I thought, all right, let's see if this changes anything. And she came straight out in the second round and was getting that outside angle and just landing that left down the middle. And the tide of the fight completely changed just from the corner advice given in between rounds. And I seen Eugene at the fight show, and I asked him, what did you say in the corner? And he said, yeah, it was exactly that thing, for there to get the outside angle. And there you go. It really does show that the team behind you can carry you a long way.
Absolutely. Lockjaw, do you think Jamie was stiff, or do you think Gina did enough?
Look, Jamie's obviously a friend of mine, and just wanted to see it go out there and get the win and do well. But watching it and sort of scoring the fight, I don't see it being like a robbery or like a stiff sort of decision. I think Gina did enough to win the fight. I think they did real well, but from what I've gathered, I think they're going to run it back in December. So it'll be interesting to see how they both adjust. But I think it was a good fight. It was still a good fight. It was entertaining. Both girls did have their moments to land them sort of heavier shots. The third round, Jamie kind of had a bit more urgency, because I think she knew she had to kind of step it up a bit. Ryan Dunstan would have told her that she had some work to do. So it was, you kind of saw both girls make adjustments throughout the fight, but ultimately I think Gina just did enough to win. She she just took over.
Yeah, sign me up for the rematch as well. I didn't know that was on the card. So, that's a fun one. Now, just on Gina, I later found out on social media, someone mentioned that she has 5 kids under 6.
Yep.
Now, I have Weapons. 2 kids myself, right? They're 6 and 2. I barely have time to take a shit most days. So how on earth does she have time to train and fight
and manage
as well?
a gym?
That's insane.
She manages a gym too. So she manages a gym, has 5 kids, trains superhero.
That is mad. That is absolutely mad.
It's
So
crazy.
I don't know if Gina listens to this, but let us know how the fuck you pull all that off. Because and for anyone else out there, what the fuck is your excuse? That's nuts. 5 kids under 6. That's insane. So anyway, the next fight on the card was, of course, Neem Stephen taking on Jimmy O'Brien. He took out a unanimous decision in the end in what was an absolute war. So what did you make of that one, Lockjaw?
Yeah, it was a fun fight to watch. I thought, like, I was pretty confident going into it that Neem was going to be able to, get a finish and finish with a submission at some point within the distance. But, Jimmy showed how tough he is and just kept coming, and the boys ended up scrapping out for 3 rounds. And you could see after the fight, man, both boys were kind of wearing the effects of the fight a bit. And yeah, it was entertaining. It's just one of those fun fights where, neither guy was really wanted to take a step back, and they're both looking to put some, pretty hard shots on one another, still trying to look like to actively look to finish the fight. They weren't, neither guy, I think, Neem a couple of times had Jimmy hurt, and he was trying to be patient, not chasing the finish and trying to get overzealous. But at that same point, like, he was never not looking, like, he wasn't looking to just, okay, I'm ahead on points, I'm just going to chill and kick back. Like, he was still actively trying to come forward and put him away, and end up being just a cracker of a fight. I was enjoying that. That was one of those ones that, got me excited, got me jumping up out of my seat.
Absolutely. What do you reckon, Jarrett?
Yeah, the thing I took away from that fight the most was Stephen was landing the jab or straight punches down the middle, and he drew out that real high guard from O'Brien, and then he was able to land powerful looping shots around the guard. And I think they're the punches that did the most damage during that fight, was all of the looping shots. So he just did a great job of, like, being patient and just touch. And then when he found his opening, he just went for it. But how tough is O'Brien? Like, he was wearing damage, and like it could have been called off multiple times, but he kept fighting back. So hats off to him. He's tough.
Absolutely, could easily have thrown in the towel there, but he just kept on trying to win, never stopped trying. So full credit to Jimmy O'Brien there. And of course, the fight after that was it was an interesting sort of catchweight fight in the end at 90 kegs. It was John Martin Fraser taking on Matt Myers. Obviously, John Fraser's taken the fight on, I think, 6 days' notice, I think thereabouts, and Matt Myers was making his middleweight debut, and then he's obviously had to put on fight another 6 kilos heavier again, I think. So Myers' team was pretty unhappy with the decision, but I don't know, it felt like it looked okay to me. What do you reckon, Lockjaw?
Yeah, I don't understand why they would have been upset by it. I think, Fraser just kind of adjusted. He kind of leaned on the fact that he was going to be the bigger guy, taking it at short notice. He's someone that normally likes to stand and bang and knock people out, but he just kind of leaned on the fact that he was, took it on short notice and used his size, used his ability to take Matt down and kind of just grind out the win. And at the end of the day, like, whether someone's being like doing lots of damage or not, or being active or like super active or not, if they're controlling you, they're controlling you, and it's your job to let that not let that happen, and to adjust and to get out of the position, or to create those opportunities for the ref to go, oh, you know what, let me give you the opportunity to go back to the feed or do whatever you want to do. But so at the end of the day, he did what he had to do to get the win on short notice. So, hats off to him, hats off to both guys for accepting the fight. Like we said when we broke it down, like, for that fight to come together is crazy. Like, both guys had to just kind of jump out of their comfort zone a bit. But, would I like to see them run it back at middleweight? Yeah, I'd be interested to see how that goes. I'd be keen to watch that. But yeah, I think you just got to kind of pick up and run with it sometimes. And that's what John Martin Fraser did. He kind of adjusted, just went to the wrestling and the grappling and grinded out what was a hard-fought win for him at the end.
He did, and it kind of felt like Matt sort of hung out on his back for too long. Like, he sort of spent a lot of time throwing elbows and punches from the bottom, and he kind of just found himself in bottom position for practically 2 rounds. So that's the way I viewed it anyway. What do you reckon, Jarrett?
Yeah, this is one that I just didn't get to see. I fell asleep during the card, and then I woke up for the next fight. So I hope these boys aren't listening, but if you are, I'll be going back to watch it for sure.
So was the fight that put you to sleep, or?
No, well, it was before the fight started. I'll let them know that.
Yeah, good. Good. Thought we'd just clear that one up. Well, well, hopefully you managed to wake up in time for Diego Pereira and Alan Philpott in the in the co-main event. Of course, Diego's put him away in the second round with a rear naked choke. So yeah, if you're awake for that one, what did you make of that one, Jarrett?
Oh, it was a good fight. Philpott looked good, but he just made a really, really stupid mistake jumping for a guillotine, and it just cost him the whole fight. So it's very unfortunate with how well he was going. I was surprised with him wrestling Diego. I think it worked well for him to take a bit of steam out of Diego's engine in the first round, but I would have liked to see him keep it on the feet a bit more. That's where he was having the most success. He's going to the body well. But yeah, it's just one of those things. It's unfortunate because you just can't get that back. It's done now, but he looked good.
Yeah, absolutely. I felt like watching it myself. I felt like maybe Diego was sort of stuck in second gear again in the first round. He kind of sometimes he sort of appears like that. Diego, what do you reckon, Lockjaw?
Yeah, like obviously I spoke about this a bit. Diego's a real mental fighter. He's got that sort of Cowboy Cerrone type tendency where he's either on and then he's like a world beater, or he's not, and then he's out here getting schooled by people that in areas that he has no business getting schooled in a sense. You'd almost be like, oh, well, you're confused by it. Obviously, I spent a lot of time around Diego with former teammates and all that, so I know firsthand what he's capable of when he is firing and he's on and when you see sort of like that. But I just think Alan looked really good and especially in that first round. I think he just overwhelmed him. I think he outclassed him everywhere with the wrestling, the grappling, the striking. I think Alan was just killing it. And he split Diego with an elbow at some point too, and just he looked the goods. And even in the second round, man, like he was stuffing takedowns, getting back out and just piecing him up. And then like we spoke about, your 52 fights in your MMA career, you are one of the most experienced fighters getting around, and you jump for a fucking guillotine. Like, I know, the mistakes are going to happen in fights. Like we've all done them. We're all going to you're going to make more mistakes as we go on. But yeah, it was just rough. That's rough to see that happen, especially when you see someone doing really well. Now I can sit here and knock, rag on Alan, especially, and no one would give a fuck because, he's kind of painted that hole for himself. But I'm not gonna. I think Alan showcased a glimpse of what he is capable of when he is on and he's firing. And he obviously went away from the loss that he took to me and went and worked on things a bit and adjusted things on a bit. So he proved me wrong in that sense because I don't think that he would. I think it'd just be something that he lapsed on. But he didn't. He clearly went and did the work because he came into that fight and he took Diego down. He was more than happy to engage in the wrestling. He was more than happy to engage in the grappling. And he looked good. And, Diego's no slouch when it comes to the grappling side of things, and especially with the wrestling and stuff too. He's pretty well rounded. But yeah, I think he looked good. Obviously, Diego then made the adjustment he had to make when, Alan made that mistake, found the way to his back, finished the fight, and that's to be expected. Diego's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu. If you give me your back, he's going to choke you out. Like, that's to be expected. So did I see anything in the fight that stood out for me from his point of view? No, I think he capitalized on an opportunity and got the win, as you should. So congrats on, doing that. Was I impressed by his performance in there? Did I see anything that I'm like, oh, wow, that was crazy, or this is something that we need to sort of take a look at? No, not really. And yeah, so it was a good fight. I enjoyed watching that fight. I think, it was crazy for how long it lasted. And I think both guys are kind of in a position where there's some things that they need to go back to and like sort of adjust. And, for Diego, it's the same sort of thing. He just needs to, there's something that needs to be done with his mental approach to fighting that needs to be adjusted and worked on because, like you kind of said, he was kind of stuck in that first round, but at the same time, there were some other factors involved there too. I don't know if Diego had like a horrible weight cut or something as well. I don't know, but like he looked dead at the end of the fight. Like he sounded like he was just wrecked. And you barely fought 2 rounds, and so that's something that probably he needs to go with his team and look at. And for Alan, I just think Alan there's obviously a mental block there when it comes to the grappling or something like that, where it's not even a case of ability or lack of ability. It's not even that. It's just a mental block that he's making these mistakes in those grappling exchanges, and it's something that he just needs to find the reasoning behind it, correct it, and then he'll be sweet. Because you saw what happened when he stopped the takedowns and when he kept it standing. He was looking the goods. So I think, obviously for Alan, I'd like to see him move forward and fight potentially someone like Alavi, both coming off losses. That's a good fight for both guys. They could kind of get a win back, get himself and still kind of keep themselves in the picture, and then, get himself some momentum back. And then obviously for Diego, that's who I'm fighting in December. That's what they're telling me. So yeah, be interested to see how this all pans out.
Absolutely, and that's that's the first time in 29 episodes that you've elected not to rag on Alan Philpott. So well done for that, Lockjaw. That's a good one. But so Diego in December is the talk around the town at the moment.
Apparently, well, that's so. While I was watching it, when you and I spoke about this, they announced it as a number one contender fight, and you and I were both talking about this, going, "What the fuck? How does that make sense?" And then obviously after the fight, when they interviewed Diego, I didn't know this until I watched it back after, because I was watching it without any volume, because I was out and about, and someone told me that they asked him, they're like, "Oh, well, so you're fight." They said, "You're like," the guy Blake who was interviewing him said, "You're fighting Justin in December." So, blah, blah, blah. Do you have any words for him? And then he gave his little speech and that. And my first thought was, when someone told me that, was like, well, what about Khan Offley? Like, what happens there? And then Camp texted me right after Diego's fight and was like, "I'm excited for December." And I was like, okay. So then they put the post up for Diego, like, winning the fight. And then I go to like click on the comments and to just go have a look and see what people are saying. And then these featherweights are in the comments just getting after it with one another. You got Rod Costa and Khan Offley going back and forth. You have Abdullah from Perth getting involved. I don't know who the fuck is that guy anyway. But so it was interesting. So then, I decided to say my piece on there and, just called it like it is. And then next thing I know, Khan Offley's asking me why we're not fighting. And I was like, man, what do you want me to do about it? Like, it's not my call. I just show up and fight who's in front of me. They tell me who I'm fighting, and I show up and I fight them. That's it. So, as far as I know, it's Diego in December. We've now learned that Rod Costa's booked to fight Sean Etchell, so for the bantamweight title. So, because my suggestion was going to be Rod Costa and Khan fight each other again, because there's obviously some unfinished business there, and we need another clear person to be. It's a bit wishy-washy. Like, if I had my pick, like who I want to fight, Khan's a better name to have, like a better person to fight at this point. He's on a win streak. He's got a really good record. He's fought overseas. He just beat his last fight. He just beat a dude that used to fight in Bellator. So, that does more for me. Like Jarrett was touching on earlier, that does more for me in my career to fight someone like Khan at this point, as opposed to Diego. Because we call it like it is. Diego's 2-2 in his last 4 fights. And all of a sudden he's just fighting for a belt. I'm not an idiot. I know how the game works. I understand the concept behind it. You can get playing on the fact that we used to be teammates. We used to train together. We fought previously. He beat me. Yeah, I get it. Like, it's going to sell tickets. It's in the Gold Coast. It's in December. I used to be based up there. He is based up there. Like, I get it. You kind of capitalize on an opportunity that's been presented to you. But do I think he deserves to be here fighting for a belt? No. If I had my pick, I'd go with the best person, or who they think is the best person, and who people are going to be like, well, this person's who you should be fighting and who we think can beat you or whatever. So, I've done that all year, so I wanted to keep doing that. But like I said, I'll show up and fight whoever's in front of me in December. I don't care if it's Diego, Khan Offley, if Jack Jenkins is back, if it's contender series thing, depending on what happens with that. I don't give a fuck who it is. I'm just going to show up and fight.
Yeah, as you touched on there, that the comments section on that post was unreal. It was just like spot fires left, right, and centre. That was incredibly entertaining. But do you have much of a say in it? Like when Eternal sort of tries to book you for a card, you're obviously ranked number 1, right? That's beyond dispute at this point. So do you have a say on sort of opponents, or do you just kind of have to take whoever Eternal wants to put in your direction?
Man, I just let Joe deal with all that. I just let Joe and Cam kind of work that out for themselves, or whoever they're dealing with. My job is to show up to the gym, train, and just focus on improving and just doing the work to improve and be better. And then I show up and fight. Like, at the end of I've never been someone that's come into the sport and gone, oh, well, I don't want to fight this person. I want to fight that person. Like, I think I've shown that to this point. Like I'm here to fight. And if they're going to, like, it doesn't matter who they're putting in front of me. If that's the person that I'm fighting, that's the person that I'm fighting. Like, and I'm going to keep that same mentality, you know. The only thing that changed is you go pro, you start getting money for fights. Like, if the money's right, I'll fight anyone. I don't give a fuck. Like, you pay me enough money, I'll fight Francis Ngannou. Go get me that check.
What about Colby? Colby's coming off a win in the featherweight division. No?
That's the only fight I don't want. That's the only fight I don't want. I'm sick of that guy beating me up every Saturday. So I don't need people to see it. If I can keep the audience limited that gets to see that, that'd be good. But yeah, I might have to watch that because he is in the weight. You know, he just got a win in the weight class over a guy that was 4-0. So he might be someone in the future. We don't know. He might be a title defense. Just got to watch ourselves.
Definitely, but the featherweight division's on fire at the moment, isn't it? It's it's really fun to watch.
So, but there's something that, like, it's real weird, right? And I adopted this. I kind of adopted this from Volko. I'll touch on that. Like, Volko's always been vocal about, like, through his whole run in the UFC, and even before that, just about earning your spot. And then, you know, just doing the work, fighting the contenders, fighting the people that are there in front of you, and just, you know, getting to your point where you're in a position where you're just undeniable, where you have secured your spot. And that's what I've kind of adopted, and especially since moving to freestyle, and have tried to do. And then I have done that. I made myself undeniable. I went and got the wins. I fought the people that no one wanted to fight, or the people were saying no to. And I put myself in a position where I am the clear number one featherweight in the country. And, like, I just don't get why, and like it's especially in the bantamweight division too. It's happening. It's like these guys don't seem to have that same approach. They don't want to make themselves undeniable. Put yourself in a position where no one can argue with the fact that you're the person that should be doing what you're doing. You know, and I feel like that's something that I've tried to do. That's something that obviously that, you know, guys like Jarrett, Colby, people like that are trying to do, but it's just, I think it's lost in translation for some of these other dudes. And it's like, it kind of makes me question why you're even involved in the fucking sport to start with.
Yeah, I agree. Some of us are trying to make a career out of this. Like, there's two types of fighters, I feel. There's, like, the type of fighter that wants to go to the UFC, and then there's the type of fighter that wants a career in the UFC. And that's why us guys, we're willing to fight anybody, because we believe that when we get to the UFC, we can beat some of these guys. We can beat all of these guys. We can move up the rankings and make a career out of it. These other guys just want to go to the UFC and then get kicked out of the UFC and then go sit at the pub and tell everyone that they made it there. You know, that's how I see it. Like, the only, as I said so many times, the only, like, Aussies, we have this, like, reputation for being fighters, but the only Aussies that are willing to fight at any time are, like, the ones outside pubs. All the fighters are just cowards, man.
Well, I feel like the UFC, they've sort of got this like a bit of a proving ground now, right, with the Contender Series. So people can't as easily get signed based on a padded record, you know, an undefeated record or whatever. They've sort of, you kind of got to fight your way into the UFC now, right? So, yeah, at least it's there. And, you know, you got to risk it to get the biscuit, don't you? You got to, put yourself out there and fight some people with decent records these days, because, anyone can jump on Tapology and do a little deep dive and sort of see who you've been fighting. And, you know, the scouting networks are far more advanced than they used to be.
And that's it. Like, I can, if, hindsight's 2020. I can sit here and go, oh, okay, there's a couple of fights or a couple of losses on my record that I could have that could be taken off if I didn't decide to fight. If I could get fights in my weight class and didn't have to go, like, up in weight and stuff like that, then maybe I wouldn't have those losses on my record. But it is what it is. You know, I stepped out, took the risk to try and keep the momentum going, because, what am I meant to do? Sit around, wait around and not get fights? Like, am I meant to what am I meant to do? Fight once a year for the next 10 years. And then by the time I get a potential opportunity to fight in a big show somewhere, it's like past the point of where it needs to be. Like, that's stupid. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, since coming to freestyle, obviously you're a bit smarter and definitely across the board in how we approach things and do things. But at the end of the day, like, I'm not saying no to fights. I'm not saying, like, no to opportunities. I'm taking those opportunities as they come. And, an example of that now is with Khan Offley. He said no to fighting Rod Costa, and they've snatched the title away from him. And now you're you know, you got to sit out and, I don't know, you got to like probably fight someone else to give him that, for them to sort of do that. And unfortunately, that's just how it is. Like, you had an opportunity, whether you don't like Rod or not, whatever the case is, you're not happy with how he handled the first fight, or I don't care. You've got to take the opportunities as they're coming. And a lot of these guys, you know, they're trying to pick and choose these things. They don't want to fight certain people. That, you know, like Jarrett said, they just want to do it for the social media sort of cloud, and they want to get to a certain point just to say that they did. And yeah, but they don't really, they have no intention to actually pursue this with like an end goal, like we do.
Yeah, there you go. Well, we got a bit sidetracked there, but it is, it's an interesting discussion. So, if anyone's out there, let us know on Instagram or in the comments or whatever, and we can, we can keep the discussion rolling in future episodes. But of course, the main event on Friday night was the big grudge match, Dave Martinez versus Aiden Aguilera. For the Eternal Lightweight title. So obviously that one was one that was simmering away on social media for quite some time, and they built up a fair bit of hype, but ended up being a bit one-sided in the end. We've sort of found out later on, post-fight, that Aiden appears to have injured his ribs about 30 seconds into the fight, he says. So it's interesting to see if that's if that had an effect on the fight. It certainly looked like he was grimacing in that second round when he got taken down. But Jarrett, what did you make of the main event and the grudge match?
Yeah, when did he injure his ribs? Was it from a strike? Was it, or do you know?
In the wrestling exchange? I think he reached for an overhook, and then they popped in the wrestling exchanges.
No, I'm not surprised. Dave's an absolute beast. Like, that fight went exactly how I thought it would, to be honest. Exactly how I thought it would. Dave's just good. Like, he's really good. He puts that pressure on you. He's like, throws these punches to get you backing up, and then when you're close to the cage, he's just shooting on you. And then he can just physically lift anyone on the planet in the air, I feel, and get you on the ground, and then that's his world. Yeah.
He's a big man. It sort of seemed to be a bit of a size discrepancy, or at least a sort of muscle mass discrepancy between the two. What do you reckon, Lockjaw?
I think Dave's done for this camp. He adopted some knowledge from Chris Jaffrey, who's obviously based down here with us, who does all our stuff at Baymed. And, so I think he worked with Dave a bit for this camp, even when he went back to the sunny coast. I thought he looked real good. Like, I thought he looked a lot leaner than he normally does. I mean, you see, he's a big guy, he's a big, strong dude. And he does carry a lot of muscle mass, but I think he's obviously, he looked, to me, physically, he looked the best he's ever looked walking into the cage. And even when I saw him at saw the stuff from the weigh-ins, he didn't look as sucked out as he normally does. He didn't look as bad as he normally does. So they've obviously, there's some things that have been worked out there. But like I touched on when we broke this down, the first 2 rounds were always just going to be the telling sort of point. If you let Dave get a hold of you, especially early, you're going to be in for a shit time, broken ribs or not. Like, you're going to be fucking... you're going to be in for a bad time. That dude's very strong, and if he gets a position on you and he secures it on you, like, it's not fun. And the dude's very, very strong. He's got and he's obviously got the knowledge behind him as well with his grappling pedigree. I mean, Aiden's a black belt in jiu-jitsu in his own right, but there's levels to this, and it's different. They're not in a jiu-jitsu match, and they're not wearing fucking gis, and it's MMA grappling's a bit different. So Dave's very adept there, and he killed it. He got to the position they needed to get to, and ultimately put Aiden away. But I will give props to Aiden for, in the second round when he got taken down, the ref, before the round even started, the ref asked him if he's sure he wants to fight. And he said yes. And then even when he got taken down, and he was obviously, you could tell it was uncomfortable for him and he was in pain, the ref asked him again and he was like, no, fuck that. And then he, was like, let's keep going. So, shout out to him for going out the warrior way. But ultimately, like Jarrett said, it went the way you expected it to if you let someone like Dave Martinez get a hold of you.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm actually catching up. Normally don't sort of announce these things before they actually happen, but I'm catching up with Dave this week, so there'll be an interview, and I'm going to write an article as well. Wonders will never cease. I'm getting back into writing. Dan's actually doing his homework for once, but there will be an article. It'll probably come out early next week, where I'll kind of just we'll kind of break it down, just talk about it from Dave's perspective. Obviously, I did the 3-way interview with the 2 guys. Ended up being an absolute shit show, and poor Dave had problems with his Wi-Fi as well. So You know, it was he sort of didn't get to say his piece, but you know, he's won the title. He's got the bragging rights and everything. So we'll get to sort of break it down from from his perspective. So it should be a fun one. So keep your eyes peeled on Fight News Australia for that one. But of course, Eternal 70 on Saturday night. Again, another fun card. The first fight on the card was Jasper Dunphy against Chemo Smith. Appeared to obviously be a bit of a discrepancy in the grappling in the end, and Jasper sort of came away with a unanimous decision win. How did you view that one, Jarrett?
Yeah, just a good one-sided win there. He's he definitely had the advantage. But yeah, it's I didn't I watched, I think I caught the end of that fight, but I didn't get to see the first two rounds. Oh, I was at the event.
No, he drove up to the event.
I was
this
at the
fucking
event.
guy. Oh, I love MMA so much. I love doing breakdowns. Want to promote the sport. Can't even stay awake through a whole fight card. Unbelievable.
No, mate, I drove 11 hours to be at the event. That's how dedicated I was.
There you go. So, Lockjaw, how did you... I know Chemo Smith's your guy, so, yeah, how did you sort of break down the fight?
So, obviously, it was a pretty one-sided affair at the end of it, but, like, for some context for people, so Chemo used to fight at lightweight. He had a big breakaway from the sport, had some, like, pretty serious neck injuries and stuff like that to do with, had some, had to get, like, surgery and get himself sorted. And then this fight was obviously his first one back after a long layoff, up at welterweight. And I don't know if that's the plan to stay there or if he's going to, fight back at lightweight. But I do think that, he was, if he plans to stay at that weight class, he's got to adjust some things because obviously, like you boys touched on, there was a clear discrepancy, not only with the grappling sort of advantage being to Jasper, but also the size, I think, played a big factor because he's a pretty solid dude. And, he fought Abel Brights earlier in the year when I fought on Hex. And, even then, he took that fight at short notice. And Abel's obviously a big guy. But, even then I was sort of looking at him going like, fuck, man, if he's a welterweight, like he's a pretty big boy for that weight class, like pretty strong dude, athletic dude. So, I think he showed that in this fight. He showed us sort of a glimpse of his capabilities. And I was sort of impressed by his performance. He did real well to just take control of the fight, be smart, not take much damage, not put himself at too much risk, and just grind out a good solid win.
Yeah, definitely. And of course, the next fight of the night was Lachlan Stitt versus Corey Lynch, and obviously, Stitt's a guy who you put some big raps on last week, and he delivered in the end. First round head kick TKO. Maybe I don't know if it was a little bit of an early-ish stoppage, but I think they probably saved Corey from probably potentially some more damage there. So I don't know. What do you make of Lachlan Stitt and his performance and his potential, Jarrett?
Oh, he's an amazing fighter, honestly. I really do think that he's going to the UFC. I seen him down in the dressing sheds. He was warming up, and I was watching him hitting the pads and working with his team, and I was like, this guy's good. Like, really, really good. Like, I can't even rate him high enough, to be honest. Just the way that he was working off his angles, his reactions to everything. His kicks are like something I've never really seen before. They're extremely powerful, and he can switch that high kick to a front kick or bring up the knee, and that's exactly what he did in that fight. He just threw that. He went to throw the round kick, I think, and then he just realized, I'll just turn it into the knee midway through, and that's how he just ended that fight. So it was beautiful to watch.
Yeah, it was from such close quarters as well, that head kick. It was almost like he kind of just placed the shin on the face there and just caught him in so close. What did you make of Lachlan's performance, Lockjaw?
Yeah, kind of exactly as I expected it to go. That kid's fucking good, man. Like, I remember that kid walking to a gym up in North Queensland at Mackay MMA when I was up there still. And he come in, he's this young kid, just come in, wanted to do some stuff, but you could tell just even then early on, like, you could tell this kid, he was just picking stuff up, and you're like, man, this kid could be good if he stays with it. And, you have those conversations with people where you're like, man, if this person sticks to it, like, imagine what he's going to be like when he gets to this age and this age. Well, now he is at that age. He's like 22, 23 or some shit, fuck, man, and he's good. And now imagine how good he's now. I'm thinking, how good is this kid going to be when he's my age? Like, what's the ceiling for him look like? And like I said, I think he could go far. I think he could be a potential champion in the UFC. I think he could honestly do very well. And, he's got himself around some good people. He's not letting it go to his head. He's staying just disciplined and just doing his thing. He'll go back to work, go train, and just do what he's been doing. And that's why he's been so successful. You can't knock anything that this kid's doing, man. He's really impressive.
He seems like a nice, humble guy. He seems like a good guy, yeah.
It's even better, yeah. And then it was another sort of one-sided beatdown that predicted by Lockjaw that came to fruition. So all I can say is God help you if Lockjaw predicts for you to get your ass kicked, then there's probably a good chance of getting your ass kicked. So there you go, another one in the bank there, Lockjaw. But before your head gets too big, we'll go to the next fight. Of course, it's your guy Colby Thickness came out with a unanimous decision over Sam Kakembo in what was a pretty competitive fight, and he wasn't without some adversity. Of course, he had a pretty torrid first round. And managed to sort of make some adjustments in the second and third and come out with the points win. So how do you break it down, Lockjaw?
Man, I was on the edge of my fucking seat, bro. I was freaking the fuck out. It was obviously I'd watched them fight the first time they fought when they were amateurs. I was fortunate enough to see that fight, and it went the exact same fucking way. Like first round, got kicked, got clipped, got hurt, had to rally up, and was just fighting on autopilot. And that's pretty much what we saw there again. Colby just adjusted, got through the adversity, and just went back to what he knows and was able to sort of grit through, push on, and find the way to win. And that's kind of what he did there. So, yeah, I was obviously highly, highly nervous. Like I've touched on before, I get stupid nervous when I watch people fight that I like, especially obviously my teammates and people I know. As opposed to when I fight. But yeah, I was freaking out the whole time that fight was going on. And then, credit to Sam too, because he had to make some adjustments after the second round because, Colby kind of twisted the tide a little bit there. And then Sam made his adjustments and he was on Colby's back briefly. And yeah, it was a crazy good fight. And I'm happy both guys got to run it back. And, credit to sort of the both of them to take the fight to begin with and put it together. And especially, being up at featherweight, like Jarrett touched on earlier, like the fact that it even happened is crazy in itself. But yeah, it was a dope fight. And both guys showed some serious skills, which was to be expected. But obviously, yeah, stoked that Colby got the win. And obviously I'm excited to see what Sam does next. I rate that guy too. I think he's very talented.
100%. How'd you view it, Jarrett?
Yeah, I'll start by talking about Sam, I guess. He's another guy that's going to the UFC as well. Like, there's no doubt about that. That fight was good enough to be watched on the UFC. So hats off to him. He nearly had it. He nearly stopped Colby. Like, I can't believe Colby pushed through that. Like those shots were like some of the biggest I've ever seen. And I was having a heart attack because I was at the first fight when they fought years ago. And I couldn't believe what was playing out in front of my eyes. It was like deja vu. The exact same thing was happening again. But after that first round, I said to myself, if Colby wins this, it's a miracle. Like, I just couldn't see him coming back. Like, I knew he's tough, and I had faith that he could. But I was like, how could somebody wear shots so hard like that and just be back in the game? Because he was like wobbly on his legs for a good minute after that.
Yeah.
And he just kept space and kept moving. And then he like landed big shots of his own. So he had Sam rocked at one point. And dude, he's such a gun. Like, both guys going to the UFC, no doubt. But yeah, I'd like to see Colby get some matchups at bantamweight and not have to go up a weight division again.
Yeah, definitely. I've got a question on this one, actually. Obviously Colby's a young fighter. What is he, only 22, I think? And, he's going to learn a lot of lessons from this fight. And I know he's your guy, but, he went down pretty hard twice in the first round, and, he took a bit of damage in the clinch as well. He was kind of outclassed in that position in the first round. So was round one a 10-8? What do you reckon?
So I spoke to, actually, I sort of had this chat this morning, actually, with Volt, and I'm inclined to agree with what he said. It'd be a 10-8 round had Colby not got on his back and, went for a submission and had that control time and nearly finished him with a submission. Like, it was close. So, if Colby's on your back like that, like, that's fucking a dangerous spot to be in. But yeah, so I think had that not happened, yeah, there's no question it's a 10-8. But because of that, I think that was enough to warrant it not being a 10-8, because he came back and then got himself into a position where he nearly finished the fight as well. So I think that kind of does enough to bring it back to just being a 10-9.
Yeah, Colby wobbled him too. Colby hit him with like an overhand from the clinch, and Sam wobbled, like nearly went down himself. So I think the judges were closer than what everyone else was. They would have seen that too.
Yeah, that's true. So I guess how do you earn a 10-8 in MMA? Because obviously people are going to say like, oh, and if this was boxing, and it obviously isn't boxing, but if this was boxing, that'd be a 10-7, right? He went down twice, but how do you earn a 10-8 in MMA?
Watch Jarrett's fight with Jamie Hunt. That's a pretty clear way to get a fucking 10-8 round if ever I've seen it. So yeah, I just think, I don't know, man, it's real weird. Like it's weird because if you like, I've seen some fights, especially recently especially you kind of watching them and you're like, man, this should for sure be a 10-8, and you're thinking that the person's done enough to do it, but it's just not a thing. Like I don't know. So I think people are too scared to give 10-8 rounds because we always talk about open scoring and doing those sort of things, but people need to realize that giving a 10-8 round might send the signal to the opposing person that obviously they've got to do some work. They've got to get themselves back into the fight. So they might take an extra risk that they wouldn't normally take, knowing that. Because if your coaches are going to be able to look at you in the corner and be realistic with you and go, man, that was a rough round for you. Like we got to come back. But for people watching it that are just sort of the casual viewers, I guess, for someone to warrant giving a 10-8, like the judges aren't going to do that as liberally as they should in certain scenarios, because there's too much, I guess, too many factors surrounding handing out a 10-8 scorecard. Like it's just, are you going to cop shit for it regardless if it's warranted or not. Like if someone does the work and they completely outclass someone, you give them a 10-8, cool. But you're still not going to, you can't keep everyone happy. 10-8's a weird thing to sort of hand out. I think the scoring system is just, it's just a shit system. So I don't know. It's weird. 10-8's are weird. Like, yeah, I've had a few fights now, and I've been in certain of my fights where I've thought about it afterwards and I've listened to the scores get read and I'm like, what the fuck? Like I thought for sure, some of these rounds would be a bit more one-sided than what they're sort of making it out to be. But, it's subjective. So I don't know.
Yeah, definitely. Well, there you go. So obviously in the co-main event was another guy that you guys are familiar with, was Michael Stanoff, who defeated Colby Porter with a round 2 rear naked choke as well. And he had a bit of a weight miss along the way, but he looked good in the fight. So what did you make of Stanoff's performance, Jarrett?
Yeah, he's a beast, man. Like those leg kicks were like taking his legs right out from under him. It was crazy to watch. But he's just so powerful. He's got that heart. Like he'll come forward and just be willing to throw down. And when he gets on your back like that, man, it's going to be a hard night to shake him off. Like the guy trains hard, and he's been down to freestyle many times. He's got all the skills there. I think he's going to go on a good run too. I think UFC's on the cards for him. I look forward to seeing his future matchups.
Definitely. What did you make of it, Lockjaw?
Yeah, I thought he pretty much went exactly how I predicted. He just, I knew once he got to those positions, he was going to be able to submit him and put him away. He's very strong. He's very good in those positions. And it was just, he's hard to deal with, and especially like that sort of, when we're talking about a rear naked choke position like that, against the fence, against the cage, where your movement's already restricted, one of your escape routes is taken away from you to show off the bat, and you got someone who's big and powerful like Michael on top of you, it's gonna be hard for you to sort of bounce back from that. So I thought he looked good. I'm excited to see what sort of gets thrown his way next. I do believe he's pretty keen to have a matchup with someone like Don Marfan, someone like Tom Nolan. Like he's pretty keen to fight some of those guys. So that's what we want to see. We want to see these prospects looking to fight these other talented and dangerous prospects.
He's fighting on Beatdown later this year, isn't he? Is that
I
right?
believe he's fighting on October on Beatdown against Jaden Binney at this stage, I believe.
Right, yeah, there you go. I thought I'd heard something about that, but he didn't make any sort of excuses for the weight miss along the way. Is Like, is he a big lightweight, or is it just something that he can sort of tidy up? Or yeah, what did you make of it?
Nah, look, he obviously, he's a thick guy. Like he's very muscular. He's very thick. So that is gonna, you're gonna have some sort of, I guess, challenges along the way. Obviously, I'm the last person to talk to about fucking like knowing anything scientifically when it comes to nutrition and like that. Jarrett will fucking recite his that side. Will be
don't talk to this guy about nutrition. I'll tell you what.
Jarrett could expand more on that than I can. Fucking, he gets props all the time from Geordie and the boys and stuff like that. So, I don't know. I think I do understand where Michael was coming from. What he said with you're waiting for a fight, but you don't have a fight, and you like, is it going to be a lightweight? Is it going to be a featherweight? Is it going to be up in weight? Like, what is the? And you're sort of in limbo, and then you kind of want to be disciplined, but then you're like, oh, I need to feel myself for these sessions. Do I need to deplete myself? Do I not need to deplete myself a bit more? So I get, I understand that point of view, but obviously, I don't think he is out of place fighting at lightweight, like physically, or being able to get down to the weight. I just think, he's the last two sort of times he's just had a bit of a fucking shitty situation. But obviously, you're still going to have to make a few adjustments and get something down pat to make it a bit easier, so you don't have to worry about all that.
Yeah. It can happen. Like, it can happen quite easily. When you got fights falling through, and then you get in matchups again. Your fight falls through. You think, oh, I'm not going to get a matchup. Your hormones are taking a hit from all the weight cutting. Your body's just feeling absolutely like shit. You're feeling depressed. All the negative effects from weight cutting. So you just go, I'm going to refuel my body, get it back to where it needs to be. Like, try to heal it in a sense. And then you do that, and then you realize that your body just holds on to everything you give it. It's like, yes, give me that fuel, and it starts to load itself back up. And then by that time, maybe you realize, oh, now I've got to restrict my calories even more, and you just don't get the mathematical equations right in a way, and then that can just so easily happen.
Yeah, there you go. Well, of course, the main event was again another one that you guys know pretty well in Blake Donnelly taking on John Brewing. He's won by unanimous decision. It was a great fight in the end. The sort of the punch exchanges were pretty hectic, and Blake showed his hand speed once again, and looks like he's at least thrown his hat in the ring for the the next lightweight title fight. So Jarrett, what did you make of the main event?
Oh, it was so good. I got to watch it live, so. Yeah, unreal. But I could do a whole breakdown on Blake's boxing. It was so good. His jab was everything. Like, it was so lightning fast, and it would just create, reactions. So Brewing would start pulling away. So then Blake would just throw the jab short, just hit his guard, and then he'd come through with the right hand and was snapping his head right back. So then Brewing started slipping off to the side, and then Blake started faking the jab and then going for the lead hook. And then that started landing. And then he didn't know which way to go. So he started dropping his level and trying to duck the jab. And then Blake started coming up the middle with knees. So he just had every little area of that boxing fight. He had it all worked out. And that was just in the first round. And then he took the fight down. And then he just showed what he was made of down there on the ground. So, like, I probably would give him the performance of the night there. I'd say that was unreal.
Yeah. Should for sure do a breakdown of that. That'd be a fun one. But Lockjaw, what did you make of that?
Yeah, I thought he fucking killed it, considering the information that I know about the lead up to the fight and the fight week, which unfortunately I can't share.
Oh, come on!
I took a vow of silence. He was pretty vocal about it, slightly a bit on social media, but he had a very bad weight cut. Like, he made weight, but he had a really bad weight cut, and it was obviously a bit, I guess, diminished in a sense from that whole process, and then to then still rock up, do your job over 5 rounds, and put on a performance like that, and just makes it that bit more impressive. But I think because John's really, really good too, and I rate him quite highly as well, and obviously comes from City Kickboxing, so he's sharing the mats with some high level people. But I think what got Blake, what kind of separated Blake in that fight once again was obviously he's very technical with his boxing, and he's very handy, and he's come and spent a lot of time at freestyle, so he understands the concepts of being on the wall, being in those grappling exchanges in an MMA sense, and what to do, what not to do. But his mongrel, just his heart, his grit, he's just wanting to just push on and keep fighting, and just make the most of the opportunity to be back in there, because he's another one struggling to get fights. People just don't want to fight him, just avoid it. So I think, that's kind of what just happened there. He went and cemented himself as, in my opinion, the only person that should be fighting for the belt next in Australia in a stacked division. Like, how could you not give him a shot?
Yeah, it's an interesting matchup too. If they do go down that track, and there's obviously been a few names sort of floated for Dave Martinez, but what do you reckon? What do you reckon Blake's chances would be, Jarrett, if he was to be the next one for Martinez's title?
Yeah, I think Martinez is just a hard task for anyone. Just stylistically, he's a nightmare matchup for anybody. But hey, like, that would be a good matchup to see. It's a striker versus grappler. Like, Blake's got grappling too, but I'm sure he would want to keep it up on the feet. But that's
They fought previously.
Did they?
Yeah.
What was the result of that?
Blakey won, but yeah, it's pretty much like what you said. It was kind of like the defining factor there was Blakey was just was able to keep the wrestling and the grappling at bay, and yeah, I think Dave struggled to deal with the striking, like the timing, the distance and stuff like that. But obviously they've both improved tremendously since then, and they've made adjustments. So it'd be one to run back. But yeah, Blake did win the first fight.
Because then Martinez was calling for Dan Hill after the fight. Is that another one that he'd lost?
He lost to Dan Hill, yeah. Adam Cook's calling for the fight. So the Dan Hill fight, I think, is one that it makes sense that he called for it and wants him back, because they feel like they were hard done by in that fight with the decision. Obviously, I like Dave, and I really rate him, but I don't think they were in that fight. I watched that fight live. I fought on the same card, and then I watched it back since after that, and I don't think it was as close. It was a close fight, but I don't think it was like a robbery or anything like that. But that's why they want it back. They thought they were hard done by in that fight, so it makes sense that he called for Dan Hill.
And Dan's fighting in boxing. He's got a fight
at the moment, because he's injured, I believe.
Yes, yeah. I think he did an ACL, so I assume he's doing boxing just to sort of stay active while he's recovering from that. But he does have another fight coming up shortly. I forget the card and I forget the opponent, but I did see that he's got a fight coming up. So when Dave called him out after his win against Aiden, I felt like that was a bit of a strange one. We don't know what Dan's plans are in terms of MMA, whether he wants to sort of stick in boxing for a little while. So it would seem that Blake Donnelly is the more likely matchup. The other name that was thrown out was Dim Skillies, but he's keen to move down to featherweight. So looks like Blake's the guy.
Real quick, just on that, I like Dims. I like Dims, and I love Dims, and I like the way he fights, but I did see something about this featherweight situation. He's been talking about going down to featherweight, and Dim started his career at fucking heavyweight. We've spoken about this. This dude's first fight was like at heavyweight, and I was there for it. And then now he's fighting at lightweight, and he looks physically the best he's ever looked. And now he's talking about going down to featherweight. Please, let's be realistic here, guys. Get some wins before we start talking about a fucking title fight. We don't need another person joining the party talking about they want to fight for a title. Let's just do the work. And also, yeah. So let's just touch on that. I don't need another person coming out here and talking to my division like they need to be fighting for a belt.
Hey, they all got that Cam O'Neill privilege, bro. They're coming.
There you go. I interviewed Dimps probably about maybe a year or so ago, and he was talking about moving down to featherweight then. So I don't know how far along he is on that one, but I don't know if he's sort of calling for a title shot straight out the gate. But I guess he's marching into your territory, isn't he?
Oh man, I like the guy, man. I like watching him fight. He's fucking exciting. He's entertaining. The dude always comes to fight. Obviously people saw the fight with Josh Kuhn and they were like, blown away by that fight. I watched this dude fight at heavyweight against a guy named Dante Jackson back in the day, like way back in the day. And it was like the Josh Kuhn fight, except two heavyweights. And like the shots that he ate in that fight and the ability to just stay on the feet, stay standing and keep fighting and throwing them back. Like, it was one of the best fights I've ever seen. And I was there live for it. So for both of them, but for that one as well. So it's like, yeah, I rate him. So I think he's very exciting. I like the way he fights. I like the way he comes in there and tries to do his job and get it done. And he's a dad. We always go with the dads. You know, we got to like the dads. He's just, and he's a genuinely nice dude. But I will fuck you up.
Yeah, it's not a good matchup for Dimps.
A classic striker versus grappler matchup, right, Lockjaw?
Yeah, let's call it that. I will be Khabib and you will be Michael Johnson.
I was hoping for more of a nibble than that. I felt like you're a little bit spiky today, Lockjaw. So I thought I thought I might have had you there, but I think I'll have to keep.
No,
trying,
I'm
keep
a
taking
happy
the
man with all the food I've been eating and all that sort of stuff. You know, I'm just genuinely. I'm just happy. I'm not here miserable. Not that I'm miserable when I am fighting or cutting weight or doing stuff because we got it worked out now with the boys that I work with. But yeah, I'm a lot happier being the weight I'm at currently and eating all the food that I'm currently eating. So I'm not going to complain.
It's probably a well-earned break, right? You've had pretty much 3 fight camps back to back, so yeah, it's probably nice to recharge the batteries a little bit.
Just a little bit, yeah. Just yeah. It's a forced break, but instead of then, like I had my little time to whinge about it and be upset about it. And I won't lie, Saturday night watching the event, you know, watching the fights and everything take place, like, and then knowing that, like, fuck, I'd be headlining this card was just that. It sucked a little bit, but at the end of the day, you know, you just got to take there's more positives that come out of this. It's a forced break for me. Which is kind of, I wouldn't take a break otherwise. So it's kind of been good to do that and just put some energy and time into a few other things.
Yeah, definitely. But also on the telecast on Saturday night, Eternal announced, as we touched on earlier in the episode as well, bantamweight title fight October 29 between Rod Costa and, of course, the champion Sean Etchell. Jarrett, this is obviously one that you'll have a bit of a close eye on. So yeah, how do you view that matchup?
Oh, it's the same as like if Diego fought Justin. It's like Costa took a loss, didn't he? Then got a win and then a title shot. And then you got Etchell coming back after he's gone off to do his thing with the UFC and it didn't work out. So then he's just going to hold that belt at the top of the division. And like, it's just a little bit frustrating from my perspective because there's other guys that need their turn and their shot. Like Colby and I need our shot. We want to get to the UFC. Give us our chance. Give us our go. Like, I know I'm coming off a loss, but I don't deserve the shot. But I'm just saying, like, I guess I'm always one win away from a shot, aren't I? That's what it seems to be. Yeah.
Does it leave a bit of a sour taste in your mouth when someone sort of steps down to the division for one crack and then go straight into a title fight?
Yeah, I've just had a chip on my shoulder for ages about everything, I guess. I had fight fall through after fight. I did fight camps where I cut all the way to the date to then get told I had no opponent. Like, I've done shitloads of fight camps without fighting and then, finally get your fight. But yeah, I just feel like it's certain guys that have been hanging around for a long time, holding up the top of the division and stopping the up and comers from going on their little tear. That's just how I feel.
Yeah, it's fair. That's fair. I guess that's the way it goes. But how do you feel about the matchup, Lockjaw?
Yeah, like Jarrett sort of said, and like I like Rod. I got no ill will towards Rod. I like the dude. I think, especially like we spoke about, his social, for a quiet, nice dude, like his fucking social media is hilarious, and the shit he says to people on there is just great. But like Jarrett touched on, it makes no fucking sense to me that the fight with Michael was a number one contender fight, and then now obviously it's led to him fighting Etchell. Cool, like that's come together. Good on him. He's getting that opportunity. It's just weird. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm excited to watch it, and I'm just gonna, from a fan point of view, it's an interesting fight for me. Not really. I got to be realistic about it. We just watched Etchell get out grappled and smoked by a 16-year-old tiny little fucking kid. What's a dude with world championship jiu-jitsu pedigree gonna do to him? Like, and Costa's coming down from fighting at featherweight. He's going to be bigger. He's going to be stronger, and he's got that advantage. And we've seen what he does on the feet. Like, Rod's not overly technical, but coming forward isn't something that dude's lacking. Like, you saw it in the fight with Khan. You saw it in the fight with Jack. Like, he'll keep coming, whether his leg's broken or it doesn't fucking matter. That dude's going to keep walking forward. and Etchel's someone who likes to have the momentum and to be coming forward. So, yeah, it's an interesting fight, but do I think it should be happening? Well, I don't know, man. It's a fucking weird position to be in. Like to sit there and like, I like I said, I gotta be happy for people getting opportunities and taking them and running with them. But at the same time, like in a perfect world, you fight people, you earn your spot, and then you take advantage of the fact that you've earned your spot. And it's just another example of that just not being the case. How do you lose a fight some dude who hasn't fought since 2019, hadn't fought in Eternal for like a number of years before that, and that earns you a fight, like a title fight? It makes no fucking sense. Like, I don't know.
How did Etchell even get a shot at that title? That's beyond me. Like, in
yeah,
the first place.
The whole situation's that weird. Like, in a perfect world, you go on a run, you fight all the people in front of you, you fight the contenders, you fight the people that are there, you cement yourself as being the person that needs to fight for the belt, then you fight for the belt. Like, it just, yeah, I don't, across the board, whether like from this level all the way to the UFC, I never understand that shit. And that's what I kind of touched on before with Volko. Like, he just went and beat everyone, was, earned his kind of place, fought for the belt, won the belt, and that's it. Like, that's how it should be. You had a few other people do the same thing. You had Kamaru Usman do the same thing. God knows we had Leon Edwards. Fucking, he did that. So, like, there's just these people like Charles Oliveira. There's all these people that are emulating that. So, that's the approach that I have, and that I want to see people do the same thing. Like, I don't need to see people fight for a belt or get these opportunities that don't deserve them. And then, like Jarrett said, you're holding up other people. Like, you're holding up people who are actually out here doing the work and wanting, to take advantage of these opportunities, but they're just not getting them. Like, Jarrett was before the fight with Cody, how is you not given a title shot in the position that you've been in, that you're in that by that point, before even fighting Cody Haddon? How have you not fought for the bantamweight title before that? And how have you not fought before Sean Etchell did? And how are you not getting a shot before? Like, the whole fucking thing is just that weird.
Even like, I don't think I would have deserved it then, because I'd only come to Eternal and had one fight.
Yeah.
But I was still, like, looking at my record, I was 5-0 at that point. But I still don't believe that they should just go and give me a title shot because of my record. I feel like if you want
you got to earn
fight show, you got to earn it like you've done. Absolutely, yeah. I agree with that. But then, yeah, it is what it is, man.
It's a weird situation.
Yeah,
but yeah, and I think
I don't blame the guys. Like, I don't blame the boys. Like, they're taking the opportunity. I don't really blame anyone. I just like being pissed off. All right.
Your fighters, you kind of need that chip on your shoulder, don't you?
Yeah, that's right.
Well, one other piece of news that sort of stumbled across today was Jamie Malaki's out of his fight with Mustafaev at UFC 280. I don't know, Lockjaw, if you've heard from Jamie or if you sort of know what went down there, but it sounds like it might be an injury.
Yeah, I don't know the story behind it, but I do know that he's out. Yeah, I was actually, yeah, I don't know like too much about it yet, but I know that he's out, which is kind of pretty shit because I was looking forward to that fight.
That sucks.
Yeah, we always look forward to Jamie Malaki fights, but he's always a fun guy to watch. And also a fun thing to watch is Fight Talk Down Under episode 30 next week. Of course, we're going to be covering all the news from the local scene, and we'll see what comes up. But of course, I've been busy this week. I've just interviewed the former champ from One Championship, Martin Nguyen. So he's back in action in a couple of weeks there. So keep your eyes peeled for that on Fight News Australia YouTube. There might even be an article to accompany that one too. And also I've got, I'm catching up with Dave Martinez this week to sort of talk about his big title win from the weekend. So keep your eyes peeled for that. So let us know if you have a question. Of course, the details will be somewhere on the screen here. I don't know which side I put them on these three-way ones, but they're on the screen there at Dan Meehan MMA on Twitter, at Lockjaw MMA on Instagram. And of course, follow the Instagram page at Fight Talk Down Under. And like and subscribe to the podcast, of course, YouTube, Spotify, Google Podcasts, Podbean, Fight News Australia, and iHeartRadio. Lockjaw, what do you got for us? What are you working on?
Just focused on recovering, getting sorted for December. Sort of what I'm focused on. I think that's I'm fighting for a featherweight title in December, and hopefully I get to do it alongside a gang of my teammates like Jarrett, like Colby, like all these people. And yeah, it's going to be a massive event. Like obviously this was their 10-year anniversary event and everything like that. But, an end of the year card in December stacked full of like the top tier talent who deserve to be fighting there. It's going to be gangbusters. That's sort of what I'm keen for.
Awesome. And Jarrett, thank you so much for doing this. It's been an awesome episode. If you want to take us off, anyone you want to thank, anything you want to plug, the floor is yours, sir.
Yeah, I want to thank you boys for having me on first off. And I want to thank everyone at Freestyle for having me there. Combat as well for helping me out. And head over there and buy some merch. Like we got links. You got a link on your bio, do you, Lockjaw?
Yes.
Yeah, so we got links on our bio if you go through there and purchase it, and you get 10% off when you use our code. So yeah, thanks for having me on, and yeah, I appreciate you, Justin. Thanks for all the training, and I look forward to having you back in the gym, and let's go get it.
We're taking over. We're fucking taking over. That's all I know.
100%.
Gotta watch it, you never know what might stop you. Here I am, climbing up.